The following program is intended for mature audiences.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And download every episode and more at basicallyasportsshow.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Diet Sprite? Isn't that just like lemon lime water?
It is, but I'm committed to this diet I'm on. So
let me interject here for a second because I am, of course, the pop expert of the show.
And it is pop. Thank you for using the correct term.
Of course, I'm from the Midwest. I might as well be Canadian, for God's sakes.
We're going to talk about pop. I didn't know Taylor Swift was a.
Yeah.
She's not in any way, shape, or form. But anyway. Okay, here's how it works: Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, stay away from it. It's god awful.
I could drink Diet Coke.
But the like the Sprites, 7-Ups, Mountain Dews, Diet's not bad.
Diet Mountain Dew.
It's actually not bad, believe it or not.
That is extreme.
Yeah, but that is the one thing. Like, I won't go with Diet Mountain Dew because that seems like to defeat the purpose of just getting loaded up on sugar and caffeine at the same time.
But yeah, I've got it all down to, I can tell you, I'm like a connoisseur of sorts, so I know these things. But yeah, Diet, the colas aren't the greatest in the diet, but the non-colas, those aren't bad.
I'm finding myself also in terms of like Diet Pop, the Pepsi Max and Coke Zero, they aren't as bad as the standard Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi. Like, yeah, the revised diet formulas, Coke Zero is probably my favorite cola in terms of just dietness. But
so how much weight are you trying to lose?
I'm trying to lose 30 more pounds. I've already lost 30.
Wow. So can I ask what you weigh without being rude?
Yeah, I weigh 230 now.
You were at 260?
I was at 260 in December, and I am down to 230 now.
But you're pretty tall, right?
I'm 6'0", so about average height.
That's not bad, really.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Basically, yeah.
Subscribe to our podcast.
I got this thing actually. It's a really simple diet. I just watch my calorie intake is what I do.
That's what you got to do. And I'll tell you something else too. Once you lose the weight, you can't start eating like you used to again, or it'll come back so fast.
Yeah, I lost. I guess 3 years ago, I lost 30 pounds. And when I was living in Arizona, then I came home. And I gained 40. So do you, I've noticed with myself, I have a peak weight where like I hit this weight and it's as big as my peak weight is 240. That's as big as I get. And if I want to go around looking like I'm 6 months pregnant, and I can eat whatever I want because I won't gain a pound higher than 240. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that or with yourselves or not. But I guess I've kind of finally hit that. I think I'm at the point where it's like I'm not gaining weight, but I am very uncomfortable, and my clothes aren't fitting properly, so I need to lose weight.
That's the worst. That's what got me. My first time I went on a diet was that my stuff didn't fit right anymore, and I was always fighting with my shirt. And
yeah.
Trying to pull up dress pants is not fun.
The best. I mean, the best advice I can give is just do the. Just watch calorie intake because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. If you anything else is anything else, that's a whole different thing. But if you want to lose weight, you just have to eat less calories than you burn.
Well, what happened was when I lost all that weight, I was living with my aunt at the time, but she was never home. So I had to make my own food all the time. And I didn't have a whole bunch of money, and she didn't have a whole lot of food. So I was like, I'm committed. I'm going to go eat. I'm going to buy regular stuff. So I basically had like chicken breast all the time.
Oh, yeah. Chicken's great.
And so I was feeding myself and going to the gym every day. So I lost the weight like that. And it was Arizona, so you sweat like hell.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I moved back here, I moved in with my grandma. And she's always making food, always trying to give you food.
Good, because she's a grandmother.
That's right.
Right. Making hearty food. And then
even when you're done, she's like, no, you still have more to eat.
Exactly.
If I lived with either one of my grandmothers, first off, I would have died 10 years ago. and I would probably weigh about 850 pounds because everything they made, I mean, we're talking like both old ladies from Kentucky. Everything was cooked in lard, which made it delicious, but it was just a heart attack on the plate every single time you sat down to eat. So, yeah.
The best thing I can actually recommend in terms of a tool to help anyone lose weight is it's an app called MyFitnessPal.
Oh, okay, I've heard of that.
And what you do is you enter in your gender, your age, your height, and your weight. And then it asks you, do you want to lose, gain, or stay at your current weight? And so if you want to lose weight, you just go to lose weight. And then it asks you what your target weight is. You plug that in, and it calculates all of that, and it gives you what your calorie total each day is going to be. And it basically says, like, if you want to lose weight, just eat less calories than this number. And it's got a journal that you go in and you type in what you have, and it has this really extensive database, and at almost anything you can think of, it'll have, and it tells you how many calories it is. So you just keep track. You just have to keep track of your calories. And what really worked for me was that it doesn't demand that you go on any sort of special diet. So you really don't like shock yourself changing what you eat. You just make sure you eat it in an amount that is more healthy. And Subway is also going to be your best friend on that because it's actually it's pretty decent stuff, and it's actually not all that bad in terms of calorie count.
I did the Subway diet, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and I swear by it.
It's gotten to the point now where like the people at the Subway close by like know my order when I come in.
That was what happened with me too.
And that's getting weird. Like when I walk in and they're like, "Oh, that'll be a chicken teriyaki on flatbread." I'm like, "Okay, this was a nice platonic relationship,
right?
And you had to go make it weird."
Do you hate that? I know there's a place, there's a convenience store down the street from me that I stop at all the time. And I know they're just trying to be nice. I know they're just trying to be like, hey, we know who you are and all that. But like you said, it got past the point where it was just this nice platonic thing where now it's like they show off by having stuff ready for me when I walk up to get it. And it bugs me. I don't know why. Because I'm sure their intentions are good, but it drives me nuts. I can't stand it.
I actually had to, vary up my sub selections just to throw them off.
I do that too, on purpose.
Like I walked in about a month ago and they're like, "Oh, chicken teriyaki." I'm like, "No. No, I'm having the pizza sub today."
Oh.
It's like, that's right. You guys didn't see that coming, did you? Now
Mike is living on the edge.
And,
went with the pizza sub.
on those bitches.
That's
Indeed.
right. Yeah.
It's just weird whenever like food places, like Chinese food or pizza places are the same way. Like once you start making it weird, I just feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. I agree. Couldn't agree more. Because these are just people that work at a place. You don't know them.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's just like, hey, you know what? Back off a little bit. But I do that on purpose. I go in and I order things outside of my normal stuff just to throw them off. I do it on purpose. I'll buy shit I don't want just to throw them off.
Right. I hate when there was a time where I went to the same like Carl's Jr. every day for a little while. The drive-through person knew my voice.
Oh boy.
And I was like, "Hey, can I get a number 4?" Yeah. Like once the person at the Carl's Jr. drive-thru knows your order,
right,
it's time to stop going.
Speaking of Carl's Jr., how about that new sandwich they have with the hot dogs on it?
I was gonna bring that up later. Yeah,
that thing is just absolutely disgusting. But at least they're honest about it.
We don't have that here, so
Mike,
I have no idea.
Well, obviously you're not gonna have this burger, Mike, because it's the most American burger.
They even say it in the ad. I'm going to try to find a link for it, but they're like, this burger has like onion rings and French fries and
no. This is what it has. It's a cheeseburger. On top of the cheeseburger, in between the bun and the cheese, is a hot dog sliced lengthwise down the middle and placed on the bun.
God.
Underneath the cheeseburger, in between the bread and the burger, is a layer of Lay's potato chips.
Right.
God damn it.
So
it's just freedom and America and bald eagles on a bun.
Do they have a little American flag on a toothpick stuck at the top?
They describe the sandwich, and then the tagline is, "Because America." That's what the tagline is.
Yeah, and the commercial is like, it's another one of the Carl's Jr. girls in a bikini eating the burger.
Right.
But she's in the back of a lifted pickup truck
Yep.
with American flag drawings on it in front of the Statue of Liberty with fireworks going on and a bald eagle circling around.
It is the most honest commercial I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're not hiding it. It's just
Nope.
like, screw it, America, go.
It's America. You're a bunch of fat people. Here you go.
This might be the most American thing since KFC's Double Down, where they just did away with bread entirely. Like, here, we're just going to stick it all between two pieces of fried chicken.
Fried chicken or the buns. It's like, well, no. That's not how that works.
Yeah, it is the most honest commercial I've ever seen. I mean, they are throwing all pretense out the window. It's like, here you go, you bunch of fat fucks, enjoy yourselves. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't think a sandwich that chock full of freedom could function up here under the yoke of Canadian tyranny. So,
Well, up there, they're going to release their own burger. It's going to be just covered in maple syrup with beaver tails as the buns.
we don't have those chains up here, actually.
Do you guys
You don't
have Sonic
you don't
up
have
there?
parties?
No,
Not even
we have
like,
Harveys, which is completely different.
No. You don't have the friendly golden star smiling back at you saying, buy my burgers?
No, we don't.
do you guys have Sonic up there, Mike?
No, we don't.
Oh, that's too bad.
I actually really loved Sonic. I stopped by one when I was in the States a few months back, and god damn it, the amount of pop alone that you can get at that place is
Yeah.
Well,
just the variety.
Speaking of that, the one thing I will give Sonic over everyone else, they have the best ice in the fast food business.
Oh yeah, it's that crushed ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like little balls of ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even crushed. It's like little formed pellets of ice.
Yeah, it really works. It doesn't melt too fast or anything.
No, you're able to get more liquid into your drink, and it's more chewable than the giant
Exactly,
icebergs
yeah.
that some places give you. Like you go to McDonald's and they have the ones where it's like they took an ice tray and broke it.
Right.
None of the ice broke apart, so there's just a slab of ice.
You get it's like a slab of like a rectangular slab of ice in your drink, and it's just weird.
Right, and it just the taste of it is just so tap watery, it's disgusting. Whereas like the Sonic Ice, you can barely tell that it's tap water.
My favorite part of Sonic is they serve those breakfast sandwiches 24 hours a day. That's
Yeah,
what
those
I
are
like.
good.
Yeah. Well, now we've got it. So
the roller skating waitresses.
yeah, I don't get how they find all these people that can roller skate like that. But more power
I
to them.
assumed everyone could roller skate.
No.
Well-
Do you know how to skate, Zach?
Yeah.
I don't. That's probably the biggest reason I never played hockey would be the fact that I don't know how to skate.
Well, I learned to skate later. Like I wanted to play hockey when I was a kid, but I was less coordinated, so skating wasn't in my forte. I fell down a lot, and instead of having my parents like force me through and say like, "No, you're going to learn how to do this," they just said, "Well, you can't do it," and then moved on to.
That's not an option up here. If you can't skate, you damn well better learn how to skate by the time you're 5.
Right, you start earlier. I think I didn't start learning how to skate till I was 5.
I think the only Canadian I know of that does not know how to ice skate is Neil Peart from Rush. He even said
that's
that.
probably why he's in a band, because he needs to keep traveling because we don't let him stay in the country for very
Right. Well, he lives in California now, so I'm sure you guys threw him out. It was probably shortly after he admitted that on one of those behind the music deals.
Yeah,
They're this dude's got to go.
Citizenship revoked.
Why don't we start in the great state of Ohio, Greg?
Okie doke.
Your Cavaliers.
That's right.
Halfway to an NBA championship.
Yes.
How does it feel?
Honestly, it's pretty damn cool. I'll tell you why. I was telling Mike before we started. I think if this team was a really, really good team that was doing this, I wouldn't care as much. But the fact that they're pulling this off, with Irving being out, Kevin Love being out, Verzov being out, and they're the underdogs, these plucky underdogs that keep beating the team that they were supposed to get swept by, I think it's awesome. I'm loving it.
LeBron's playing awesome, but he's not the only reason why they're winning.
No.
You know?
You've got, what's his name?
Dellavedova.
And
he's wreaking havoc on the Warriors right now.
He really is.
It's dirty. It's dirty, but it's funny because he's like, I'm just going to go for your legs.
He's just a dirty Australian guy.
It's been a great series, really. I think it's been it's the first one I've watched where I've seen the entirety of all 3 games, and I probably since the 80s Lakers, to be honest about it.
It's not all LeBron James, but at the same time, it's kind of proving everyone's point that you could stick LeBron James on almost any team in the East, and he'd single-handedly just drag them to the finals.
I think it's the greatest finals performance ever so far. Now, they could still blow this, and then maybe not, but right now, I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, everyone thought that the Lakers were done, when like his supporting cast started to fall by the wayside due to injuries, and people were like, "Oh, well, okay, that's that."
Well, if you remember, we talked about it when they first made the finals. Like they're going to get, you said what's going to happen when they get swept by the Warriors, and that was kind of the prevailing thought that even with Irving still healthy,
and
reasonably healthy.
At most, I gave them a game.
Yeah,
right. I think everyone gave them a big LeBron game, and that'd be it.
Yeah, and
But Steph Curry's playing like garbage.
Yeah,
he's not hitting any of his shots right now, and that was always my contention with the Warriors and how they play. Mm-hmm. If at any point they just go cold, because they're strictly. Well, not strictly, but majorly a jump shooting and 3-point shooting team.
And a fast tempo team.
Right. And when the shots don't fall, then you're screwed. If you go cold for a couple of nights, you're down 2-1. You might be down 3-1. Who knows? But yeah, I mean the Warriors they're in a rough spot. I think, and you mentioned the transition points. I think they only got 4 transition points in Game 3.
Well, here their biggest problem is that if they can't run, they don't have a half-court offense, really, to speak of,
Yeah.
And they seem to be playing the we're going to let
or at least the Cavs half-court D is doing well.
Yeah, it's been incredible.
Not letting them get the open shots.
I can't believe that this team won a game, because really theoretically, they could be up 3-0 right now if they don't fall apart in overtime in Game 1. Yeah,
right. And fall apart and not get the calls from the referees.
Yeah, but
can we talk about the officiating in this finals, because it's made everyone appreciate NHL officiating that much more.
Oh, it's been garbage.
Well, it's the NBA. I mean, you can never expect good officiating
or completely clean officiating.
No, of course not.
No, there's one of the referees. I think he was the ref during Game 2 when the Cavs won. Road teams are 11-0 when a certain referee refs in these years' playoffs.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't remember the guy's name, but somebody brought it up to me in like the second or third round where it's like, this guy, the road teams are 7-0. I'm like, that's ridiculous. That's just a coincidence, right? And then we were watching the game and the road team ended up winning. I'm like, well... Because then you start looking at the fouls and you're like, oh.
Well, it's not like the NBA doesn't have a history of officials getting in a little bit of trouble. Have you guys watched all the games, or am I the only one?
I've watched the last 5 minutes of every game.
Okay.
Which is kind of my policy for the NBA.
I watched Game 3.
Yeah. Here's my thing with this series. If the Cavaliers want to win this, they have to win tonight, because they just don't have the depth to keep leaving it all on the floor like this for 7 games. They can't do it.
Right, because, they're going hard every single time.
And eventually that's just going to catch up with them. So if they can get up 3-1 tonight, that gives them a chance to blow one in Golden State for Game 5. Bring it back home to Cleveland, win it in Game 6, the city of Cleveland burns to the ground, and that's that. We're done with Cleveland. We don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right, so does Cleveland win one championship, and that's it? We don't have to hear about Cleveland ever again?
I would think so. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
The Browns.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's always about the city hasn't won a championship, and that's what all the fans say, too. So you know what? If you get this one, you got to shut up about everybody else, at least for 5 years.
Zach, let's be real. The Brown, that's never going to happen.
Hey, but, they're turning a new leaf, and Johnny Man's...
And the orange passion.
Yeah, the orange passion of the dog pound.
What is this going to be, their 16th year since they've been back in the NFL?
Yeah.
And I've heard that exact same nonsense for 16 straight years. I expect nothing to change.
Orange passion?
I know about the whole they're turning a corner, they're doing this, they're finally heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
They've gone, I think, in every conceivable direction you can think of, none of them being the right one, which is really, when you think about the mathematical odds of that, pretty damned impressive. I think for the Cavs to win this, they've really got to take tonight's game. And if they do that, they're up 3-1. All they got to do at that point is win 1 out of the next 3, and I think they can really do that. And LeBron James, I don't care what anybody says at this point, there's no criticisms left that you can make of the guy. I mean, other than maybe his hairstyle or something.
And nobody hates LeBron like they used to anymore.
Yeah, but they don't really like him either, other than...
No, but I think everyone finally gets him, understands what he's about and who he is, and that he's not a terrible person. He's not... people hate Kobe still, right?
Yeah.
But LeBron doesn't have that same vitriol that people throw at guys like Kobe. Or even like Derrick Rose, But I don't know. I I used to dislike LeBron, and part of it was probably because of the Backstreet Boys concert that he and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade had when they first came to Miami.
I thought you were going to say he went to a Backstreet Boys concert, which would have really dropped his esteem in my eyes in a damn hurry.
Would have been an image problem at the very least.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. His whole letter is coming back thing. It's like he's matured. I think.
Yeah.
I think people understand LeBron.
Well,
and I'm fine with him winning. Like he's clearly the greatest player of this generation.
But I don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to happen if they do win this. Because if they win it at home in Game 6, but then I'm also thinking, you know what? This is Cleveland. They're going to get right on the verge of winning this and then lose it in the most heartbreaking way possible.
I thought you were talking about the people.
I don't know what they'll do if they win. I really don't. Like I said, they'll probably burn the city to the ground, and that'll be that. Don't have to worry about it anymore.
Can we light the lake on fire again?
Yeah, sure. But yeah,
all of our fish have AIDS.
So anyway, that's where we're at with that, I guess.
Yeah. Did you hear about? Well, since this is the first finals in Oakland and Golden State since the 70s, right?
Right.
Well, I guess the NBA forgot how Oakland is Oakland. Before Game 1, some of the NBA entertainment trucks that were there early, they had $40,000 worth of equipment stolen out of the vans at the Oracle Arena in Oakland.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It really is, yes. You got to love Oakland.
The Warriors
it's a
can't
great
get to
place.
San Francisco fast enough.
Have you been there?
Oakland?
Yeah.
God, no.
Because my mom went there, I don't know, 15 years or so ago, and she's like, I was never so afraid in my whole life.
I've never been there, but I've seen the photos from the Coliseum where there's like a fenced-off pathway from the parking lot to the stadium because they don't want you to be out in the open too long.
No, it's the same thing from supposedly from the BART station there to the complex, because the Oracle and the Coliseum are right next to each other. They share the parking lot. It's like Arrowhead in Kansas City, where they have Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium in the same parking lot.
Yeah, but you don't have to worry about dying if you go to a Royals or a Chiefs game, probably.
Well, of course not. LeBron only has a 1-year contract, remember?
Yeah, but that's mostly because of the new salary cap and all that.
I know, but if LeBron comes back and wins his championship in the 1 year he signed for, does he just leave?
I don't think so. Where would he go?
Maybe his next thing will be to rub it in Michael Jordan's face and sign with the Hornet Cats, and with Jordan sitting courtside for the championship.
I don't think he goes anywhere after this. Because what's he going to be? He's closing in on 30 now, isn't he? Or maybe, I don't know.
But, okay, so let's see.
I thought he signed a 2-year deal, too. I thought he had one more after this.
No, it was a 1 year.
Oh, okay.
Let's see, what was I going to say? Oh, so he has, if he wins this year, it'd be his 3rd championship, right? He only won 2 in Miami.
Right.
Right?
Yep. This is his 5th straight NBA Finals.
5th straight Finals, he only won 2 of them.
Right.
So far.
The only other people to do that, I think, have been all those Celtics guys from the 60s.
Right. Hey, you know who was undefeated in finals? Jordan, just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, like that's the same thing when I use like the Brady Montana comparison. Everyone will always hold Montana's 6-0, 5-0,
4.
4 was a 4. I'm giving more credit.
But Montana, 4-0 in the Super Bowl.
4-0, whereas Brady is now 4-2.
Yes.
So people bring that up. Will be like they might have the same amount of wins, but Montana was undefeated. And it's like, well, why don't you give him credit for making the other 2?
I mean, you don't know what would have happened if Montana made 2 more. So
it's always like it's just so funny. Like people never give the credit to like the Buffalo Bills teams that lost 4 straight Super Bowls.
Well, no, that's just because it's funny.
But it's also like right. But they made 4 straight Super Bowls. That's still a pretty big accomplishment.
That was a damn good team. That Buffalo team.
I mean, no, it is. But it goes back to what I said a couple shows back, and I'm going to repeat it here because I think it'll segue nicely into our next segment. Tyler Johnson, right, has had a amazing playoffs.
Yeah, Mike. Did you know that he's undrafted and small?
I did. Yes.
Yeah,
I hadn't heard that.
Everyone knows that now.
But the thing about it though is that if they don't win the cup, no one's going to care.
Yeah.
That's the same with Matthew. Say his last name for me, Zach.
Dellavedova
with the Cavs. Mm-hmm. Everybody's talking him up right now, but you know what? If they lose this series, we won't remember his name this time next year. Probably this time next week, honestly.
So it's kind of like it's the same thing with the Bills. It's like, yeah, great teams, fantastic, dominating performances for 4 straight years, but if you don't win at least one, it's kind of forgotten. I mean, and even one doesn't necessarily solve the problem. I mean, the Braves were an absolutely dominant team during the 90s, but 15 straight years and only one World Series. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't capitalize on that success, no one's going to care.
Yeah. I will just say this with the comparison thing. I don't think LeBron is better than Michael Jordan. I'll tell you straight up, Brady's not as good as Joe Montana. Simple as that. So.
And nobody's.
Brady's not even as good as Peyton Manning. So let's just.
You want to start? Let's go.
No, we can hold off on the Manning Brady debate for a couple more months. Yeah,
let's wait until
let's wait until they both retire, and then we'll bring it up again.
No, then I want to see when Brady retires. I want to see him buy a chain of like Domino's franchise. In Colorado.
Oh,
and then we could have like Brady Manning 2, like the Pizza Wars or something.
There you go.
You could have like football fans like tracking sales statistics and.
Well, hold on, Mike. If you ask Domino's, they're not just a pizza place anymore. They're no longer just Domino's Pizza.
Oh, what are they now?
Domino's.
Okay, Domino's fine dining or what?
Is this like the time that Pizza Hut temporarily rebranded into the hot, authentic Italian cuisine?
Yeah, similar. Very similar, yes. Because Domino's, they sell pasta and sandwiches.
Does anyone actually buy their pasta and sandwiches?
I honestly, despite their rebranding, had no idea that they sold that stuff. So I guess it's not working that well.
Okay. And throughout, my entire university career, my time in university, my friends and I, we ordered a lot of pizza, ordered a lot of Domino's.
Yeah, me too.
It was all pizza and it was all chicken. I don't remember anyone ever saying, I'm going to have the chicken Parmesan sandwich.
Yeah, no, I ordered a fair amount of pizzas and 2-liter bottles of Coke.
Mm-hmm.
To complete the meal. There you go. Occasionally some cheesy bread.
See, my occasional thing was Cinesticks.
Cinesticks, yeah.
I'm not big on the Cinesticks. That's just too much dough going on for me.
I like the cheesy bread from Domino's, though.
That's pretty good, yeah. Never had their pasta. Maybe I'll have to try it now that I know that they have it.
I've had it. It's not bad. It's fine, but
it's hard to screw up noodles and sauce.
That's what I was just going to say. If there's one thing in the fine world of cuisine, I suppose, is this is a great Italian restaurant. Honestly, I don't see how it couldn't be. Because if you can't make a plate of spaghetti,
maybe your sauce is a little more sugary or maybe a little spicier, maybe some zest.
But that's about the only difference.
A noodle's a noodle.
Exactly.
They're all made of the same thing. They're just formed differently.
People are like, this is a great Italian restaurant. It's like, so is freaking, what's that place? Fazoli's or the
Olive Garden.
Olive Garden, yeah. The spaghetti, come on.
Oh, Olive Garden breadsticks.
I saw a video the other day from our good friends at BuzzFeed. They had a taste test of restaurant breads. Which restaurant had the best bread?
Oh, okay.
Their unscientific test. The people there, they chose Red Lobster.
Those cheesy garlic biscuits at Red Lobster are pretty good.
Yeah, they are.
I don't think I've ever been to a Red Lobster. I'm not big on seafood, though.
Oh, God, I could live on seafood.
I'm a huge seafood fan, so I've spent a lot of time at Red Lobster. Embarrassingly large, an embarrassingly large amount of money spent at Red Lobster. But
and aren't they also sourdough, too?
They're cheesy sourdough biscuits.
Oh, yeah, and they are absolutely delicious.
They're fantastic.
My favorite when it comes to bread, though, is either Olive Garden or Texas Roadhouse.
We
had Texas Roadhouse biscuits. Oh.
So, Mike, in Canada, is that place called the Alberta Warehouse?
I guess we could talk about the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. We're 4 games in, and it's all tied up.
Yeah, that's great. Glendale, Arizona.
Is that what we're jumping in first?
Oh, I don't care about the hockey, man.
Well, no, it's actually funny because true story.
Yeah, that's all great.
Last night, I was watching Game 4, and then I saw that there was a link to the Glendale City Council meeting. I immediately muted the game and put on the City Council meeting. I guess I'll just give some general background on this. Basically what happened 2 years ago, the Glendale City Council did a stupid thing and agreed to this deal that required them to pay $15 million a year to a private enterprise, that being the Arizona Coyotes. I can't call them the Phoenix Coyotes, even though their lawyer called them the Phoenix Coyotes. But we'll get to that.
The city in the first 2 years of this deal has expected to lose $17 million.
Mm-hmm.
And the money that the city is giving to the ownership, supposedly the ownership isn't actually putting it into the arena management. They're using it to pay down their debts.
The deal was that the $15 million was for arena management.
The city of Glendale is obviously not happy with the deal, so they were looking for ways to get out of it. And I guess in Arizona law, there is a statute where within the first 3 years of the deal, if either side can show that there was a conflict of interest, then they can negate the deal.
And what ended up happening was one of the lawyers for the city of Glendale that helped put the deal together, after the deal was approved, he then went to work for the Coyotes.
Ooh.
Right. So they're trying to say that that's a conflict of interest, that he worked on both sides of the deal.
A little bit, yeah.
It is a little bit, but it's a technicality.
It is a technicality, but the way I understand the way the law works, it's not without merit. Like, I don't think it's going to be a simple case of being dismissed. Like, there is.
No, of course not.
I mean, it does what the city did by canceling this deal on that grounds does seem to follow the letter of that law.
So what's the end result here? Is Glendale basically saying, you know what, we're done, that's it? And
well, that's essentially it's either one of two things, but the second one I don't think is likely. The first one is that the city of Glendale is basically going to kick the Coyotes out.
Okay. No, they already have. They hired a new arena management firm that has started scheduling dates for the arena for next season, for next hockey season.
Right. The other idea was, or at least to me, that maybe like if they had gone about this in a more amicable fashion, maybe, and not behind their back, they could have been like, look, let's negate the deal right now, renegotiate something that's better for both sides.
Apparently they tried to do that, and the Coyotes said no.
Well, of course they would.
Yeah, I mean, because any deal they renegotiate, they're going to end up with less money out of it, I'm sure.
Right. So I don't know if they've done it yet, but the Coyotes were supposed to file a lawsuit first thing in the morning today. A $200 million lawsuit. Right.
And a restraining order, hilariously enough.
Keep the city of Glendale away from our team.
And it's funny, the vice mayor said, this is ludicrous. A restraining order for what? We own the arena.
Wow. This thing is so beyond the pale at this point that it's just ridiculous.
It's insane. And the thing that's so stupid, too, is we all know that the Coyotes weren't going to stay there longer than the next 3 years anyway.
No, because the deal was that they could leave if they lost, what was it, 100, was it 50 million?
50 million, yeah.
50 million.
Yep.
And they've already lost the 50 million.
Yeah. They already have, or will by at least next year, have lost all the money they need to lose. So in 5 years, they were probably going to be gone anyway. Mm-hmm. But the NHL, of course, has fought tooth and nail, Gary Bettman especially, to keep this team where it is. And this next season, the number one overall draft pick was born and raised in Scottsdale.
So you know that, like, before this news broke, Gary Bettman was probably pleasuring himself to the thought.
Right. Because the
Coyotes tanking.
The Coyotes are still going to be terrible next year. They're going to be bad. So people aren't going to go to the games anymore either.
Mm-hmm. I got news for you. I don't care if the kid that they drafted number one was born and raised in Scottsdale or not. That is not enough, I think, to drag people to that arena to go watch that team play.
Right.
I just don't think it is.
So now there's a lot of things going around. Like, this thing's going to be held up in legal hell for a little bit. Now, the question is whether it gets done before the start of the season. And if they can somehow speed that up and end it before the season, then the Coyotes might have to go somewhere.
K-back, baby.
Well, that's one of the questions. Is this starting to become more like the Thrashers to Winnipeg than anything else?
where basically the owners of the arena are saying, get out.
Right. Right. It was like, well, and back then, Bettman was saying the same thing he's saying now. No, everything's fine. We're fine. The Thrashers aren't moving / the Coyotes aren't moving.
Well,
except like a week later, the owners that own the team in the arena were like, yeah, we don't want them here anymore.
And just to take the way back machine, before all of the start of the Coyotes, Bettman did an interview with CBC where he claimed that every team was on financially solid ground, and then like a month later, the Coyotes declared bankruptcy and set this whole shit show into motion.
And Bettman, did you see the interview on CBC last night?
I did, where he's like, we're like that.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of the Coyote. The citizens of Glendale shouldn't be concerned about the Coyotes. They should be concerned about their government.
Oh. Yeah, because if I'm a citizen of Glendale, I'm pissed that my city decided to stop subsidizing a hockey team and is actually going to put that money into crap like the educational system or, infrastructure.
Yeah, damn those idiots to hell anyway for saying, you know what, instead of pouring $15 million a year down a black hole, we're going to try to do something with it here.
But here's the thing. That's where the meeting comes back into play. Because this, just like it was the first time, pure theater. I said the citizens calling out this council was hilarious.
I muted Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and I don't regret it because it was delightful.
Yeah.
Mike, what were your highlights? Because I have one right here, and I have the transcript of it.
Okay. I had so there were a couple. There's a lot to choose from.
Talking about mine is, by the way, the lady directly pointing her finger at the mayor.
The highlights for me, the first highlight seemed to be that almost not universal. I don't want to paint everyone with a broad brush, but it seemed a disproportionate amount of people upset about the Coyotes leaving weren't actually from Glendale.
That's how it was the first time. Yeah.
So they're saying, "Oh, how dare you do this?" And they just come off like selfish bastards because they're not the ones whose tax money is being affected by this at all. So I want to get that out of the way. But the personal highlight for me. Well, I'd say there's two. The first was the first Coyotes fan to come up. He came up in a signed jersey.
Yes.
And he compared it to spousal abuse. He said, "This is like watching two parents fight, and dad's just ripping mom's arm off, and there's bone and ligaments being torn, and he's just beating mom. He's just beating mom to death with her severed arm. And how could you do this, Glendale?"
No way.
Yes,
that really happened?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then the second highlight, and granted, there's a lot to choose from, so I know I'm leaving stuff by the wayside, but this had to be it. It's when Old West Grandma came up. And she's not even talking about the Coyotes.
She's not even complaining about the Coyotes. She's complaining about all the Russians moving into the neighborhood and all these guys walking around town with their britches down below their butts.
I don't know what's happening, but I've been talking to them tobacco store owners, and they've been going on about the Russians and their people showing their britches.
Oh my God!
I think she was there. She wanted to speak publicly on something else, but it just so happened to be the Coyotes meeting.
And the mayor actually said after she was done, "Let's just keep the comments limited to the Coyotes situation."
Oh my God!
And then my last highlight of the night was that the mayor was obviously going to vote to kill the deal.
Yeah.
And so at the end, when all the council members are casting their votes, and one of the council members actually forgot what he was supposed to vote. He forgot what yay and nay was.
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me, Councilman, do you vote yay or nay? I don't vote in favor of ending the deal. So is that a yay or a nay? I guess it's nay. But okay, so it gets to the mayor, and the mayor's like, "Now I want to explain my vote." And the Coyotes fans start heckling him.
Oh God!
Like British Parliament.
They're like, "How dare you?" And he's like, "Let's have some decorum. I want to explain my vote." And they're like, "You're mocking us." But those were my personal highlights. Again, there's a lot I left out, but it's like shooting an elephant. You have to start somewhere.
My favorite, she was the second to last to speak, I think. Her name is Rhonda Pearson. She's a 40-year-old nurse from, not Glendale, from Phoenix. And I quote, "I'm curious because I go to all the Coyotes games because I've been a season ticket holder for several years now. Full season. Not half season, not a partial season, full season. And I've seen you at games," she's talking to the mayor and pointing at him, I've seen you at so many games, a number of times sporting a jersey that looks just like this one. She was wearing a white Coyotes jersey with Mayor on the back and number 1 on the back. How much did you pay for your jersey? How much did you pay for those games? Because I know I paid a hell of a lot more than you did. I support this team. You don't. You don't show up to games and pay for your tickets. None of you do. What you're doing is childish, and it's pathetic, and it's disrespectful to the citizens who voted you in office and all of us who spent so much time and energy supporting this team when you never did. She's from Phoenix. She didn't vote for him into office.
Another one of the council members who voted in favor of keeping the Coyotes there, after the vote was taken, he started talking about Navajo code talkers and Marines and soldiers.
In regard to what?
The Coyotes.
Really?
There's actually a YouTube video of the entire conference, Greg, should you decide to go back and watch it. It's fantastic viewing.
Oh, we forgot about the small child that walked up to the podium.
Oh, yeah, the Coyote.
So they get this little girl in her Coyotes jersey. They bring her up to the thing. She says, "My name is Jillian. Go Coyotes."
That was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also the Native American chief who asked us all to examine ourselves and to look deep inside for a solution. It was theater, as Zach said, absolute theater.
It's a joke. It's just it's embarrassing at this point. Here's my thing, okay, and I don't get this. Okay, you've got a city. First off, it's not going to work in Arizona. So let's start from the top and work our way deeper into this. Gary Bettman needs to understand that some of these southern markets worked, some didn't. This is one that clearly is not going to work.
Well,
so there's that.
Again, the thing with the Coyotes not working right now, I'm still firmly of the belief, had they never – because all these problems started as soon as they moved to Glendale. Mm-hmm. The bankruptcy and everything else that came along with it afterwards.
That's my other question. Why don't they just move back to Phoenix?
Well, that was one of the other things that was floated out there, because I guess the Suns are thinking about trying to get a new arena.
Okay.
And Arizona State has also kind of voiced maybe we want to get a new arena. So there's the idea that maybe should the Coyotes get kicked out, they play temporarily in U.S. Airways again for a little bit.
How old? That arena's not that old, is it?
1992 is when it opened.
Okay.
So it's over 20 years old, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's realistically it's absolutely perfectly fine, but in the economic, I guess, climate of arena management and ownership, it is out of date.
Doesn't have enough luxury boxes is probably the problem, right?
Yeah, there's luxury boxes. I don't know. I find the place kind of cramped. Like, really, the concourse in the upper deck is almost claustrophobic. But, like, they probably don't need a new arena, but they might, go try to get one just so that they have something shiny and new. But, so there's the talk of maybe them going in there for a little bit, and then the Suns, ASU, and the Coyotes all come together to build either a new arena downtown or one in Scottsdale like they originally wanted to do in the first place.
Okay, there you go. Problem solved.
Right, but arenas don't come around tomorrow.
No.
Right? They would have to sit through a lot of crap, and the Coyotes aren't going to be making any more money anytime soon. And that's the other thing. Why would the Suns or Arizona State want to go into business with something that is going to lose them money?
Well,
and why would they go into business with an organization that has been this much of a punchline, this much of an organizational disaster? But and I actually do agree with Zach that the team probably would have been fine if they had stayed in Phoenix, or even if they had moved into a location closer to Scottsdale. I understand that's where a lot of their potential fan base is. But
see white people.
Yeah. But from what I understand, those were all situations that could have worked in the past. Is it possible? I mean, it seems like the brand, the damage has been done, and that going back now would be too little, too late.
And the funny thing is, too, the Coyotes are going to release new jerseys at the end of the month.
We could have a Quebec Nordique situation where.
But you know what? Someone pointed something out. If the Coyotes have nowhere to go and they have to go to, say, Quebec.
Yeah.
You remember the Nordiques jerseys that we're talking about that didn't go through?
We have the dog on it.
Right. What is a coyote?
A dog.
Oh no. No. No.
Greg only accepts the return of the Nordiques if they return to their original uniforms.
Yeah, and that is non-negotiable.
Well, Greg, have you ever seen those proposed Nordiques jerseys?
I have not. I don't know that I want to see them.
No.
I'm pulling up now.
Oh, these are. Think what the Nordiques would look like if they had navy blue, teal, and an angry dog jumping out of an iceberg.
Does he have a hockey stick?
No.
Well, then it's not a good logo. Sorry.
So this would have been the Nordiques' 90s fight had they not moved to Colorado.
Oh, God.
Greg.
I don't even
There you go.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if that's navy blue. It's more purple.
No. No, but no. The Nordiques almost became my favorite team back in the day because of their uniforms alone.
They almost jumped on the 90s bandwagon like the rest of
Oh, God. No, if they're going to move back, here's what they do. They go back to Quebec, and they become the Nordiques, and that's that. End of story. And we don't talk about this anymore. That's what has to happen. Winnipeg has shown you that it works. It can work.
Yeah, no, and the arena in Quebec is going to be ready for action in September.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Edmonton. People still go to their games, and they're horrible.
Winnipeg showed that a smaller Canadian market is a cash cow.
At least people will show up. At least they will be interested.
Right.
If nothing else.
And, I mean, you guys have heard me before argue for Phoenix. I really have always wanted the Coyotes to work out. But it doesn't.
Well,
it just doesn't.
It's remarkably similar to the situation in South Florida where the Panthers were drawing hot crowds when they played in Miami.
Right.
Yeah. And they also went to a Cup Final in like their third year.
And it's one of those situations. Well, the Coyotes never went to a Cup Final, but they were a playoff team for 5 of their first 6 seasons, so they hit the ground with a fair degree of success.
Yeah, they lost to the Mighty Ducks in 7 games in their first playoff series.
But it's just one of those situations where
the Ducks actually won a Game 7.
Oh,
yeah, and it was a home Game 7 too.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't resist.
But you have these cases where both Sun Belt markets could have worked if the teams had remained committed to their local municipalities that that had a lot of solid growth, that had a lot of new money with lots of disposable income. They expanded to these markets for a reason.
Right.
I mean, there was some sound logic behind it, but in both the Coyotes and Panthers cases, and I think we can agree those are the 2 biggest flops of the whole Sun Belt thing. In both cases, they decided that they were going to move from these, potentially successful urban arenas into these arenas in the middle of the suburbs where nobody was going to go and nobody has gone. And that's the root of the problem. And yeah, you could say, oh, well, they had past success. Maybe if the Panthers move back to Miami and the Coyotes move back to Phoenix, maybe it could all work out again. Maybe it could be just like it was back then.
I don't know that in this day and age, with the economics of sports being the way they are, I don't know that there are very many markets left that can support all 4 major sports leagues. And I think that's part of the problem too. You look at Columbus is a pretty successful team, expansion team. They're the only pro game in town. I think
Columbus
it's just
Crew, Greg.
Like I said, they're the only pro game in town. But you look at it, I think like
MLS.
LA.
Zach, I'll have you know, it's Columbus Crew SC now.
Oh, my apologies.
Anyway, you've got New York can still do it. Los Angeles, San Francisco, probably Chicago,
Dallas.
But after that, the pickings are pretty slim. It's tough enough. Like, I know there was talking on the radio because I got stuck with a loaner car and didn't have my XM, so I actually had to listen to, God forbid, local sports radio, which I'm still recovering from.
Oh, God.
but they brought it up. They said, we're getting to the point where it's difficult for Cleveland to support 3 major sports franchises. And I thought, Jesus, think about that. Phoenix, it's a big place and all that, but I just don't know that there's a place left anymore outside of the ones we've mentioned that are capable of it. And I think that's what, especially the NHL, needs to start looking at. Look at how successful the NBA is in Oklahoma City. Why? Because that's the only game in town.
I was going to say, look at some of the more successful relocation or expansion instances. Oklahoma City in the NBA.
Right.
Or Winnipeg in the NHL. And both of those are smaller markets, but the respective leagues are the only pro games in town, and fans are absolutely devoted, and they're huge successes.
Well, but that's why the NHL wants to go to Vegas. And really, that's why they probably shouldn't end up going to Seattle. Mm-hmm. Because if they go to Seattle, even if the NHL is the first thing in Seattle, the NBA team will not be far behind, and then they will be fourth fiddle. They'll be fifth fiddle behind the Sounders.
Yeah, I was going to say the Sounders are very successful too.
Right, and so
the NHL's got to look. I understand. Anaheim worked, Tampa worked, Dallas,
Nashville.
I guess, Nashville.
Nashville's worked.
They've worked. Columbus has worked. Some of but then there are other spots where you just got to go. You know what? We just got
Atlanta didn't work.
Atlanta it hasn't worked twice now.
Phoenix, for all of its potential, has squandered it in so many ways by the actions they've taken.
Right.
South Florida didn't work.
Right. And the Panthers, for the same reason the Coyotes, they had their opportunities to make it big in the city. They went out to the suburbs, and it was a gamble they took. It didn't work.
I mean, I think that the Panthers probably have a better shot of succeeding in Jacksonville than they ever do in Miami or even where they are, I mean, and plus, you've got Miami. It's bad enough that you're trying to support 4 major sports franchises. Plus, I'm sure they have a soccer team.
They will soon.
Okay.
David Beckham is going to try to put one there.
But and then you've got the weather and everything else. It's just that,
and it's not really a great sports city.
No, it never has been.
No. Miami, even when the Dolphins are good, people don't go.
Nope.
We made fun of the Heat fans for leaving an NBA Finals game early. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Yes.
Like, it's not a great sports town. And it was the same thing with Atlanta. Atlanta's not a great sports town either.
No.
You have a slam dunk in Quebec.
Yep.
You have a giant question mark in Vegas, but the NHL will be damned if no one tells them no. They're going to Vegas. That's happening.
I was going to say, instead of doing the smart thing and going, you know what, we're going to put the Coyotes in Quebec, and that's it. We're done. They're not going to do that. They're going to do the same exact thing. They're going to cram a team into Las Vegas. We're going to be having the same exact conversation in 5 years.
Like, now that we're actually going through this stuff, all the talk about the NHL trying to expand,
it's just laughable.
It's ridiculous because we just assume that the Coyotes are going to move. I think that's well established, and the Panthers should.
Right.
So if we move one of them to Quebec, you got to move the other one somewhere else.
Everything coming out of the Las Vegas group indicates expansion because they've been talking about building a team from the ground up.
Yeah. The only league I think
the Coyotes are barely a team at this point. You could just build them from the bottom up, right?
The NHL, the last thing they need to do is be adding teams. If they were smart, what they would do, move. I don't know how you figure it out. Maybe you do some sort of dispersal draft, and you take the Panthers and the Coyotes, and I know the ownership group in Quebec gets to pick, like, okay, you get to pick versus the league or however you want to do it, but I just think that you can't – I don't know where you move the Panthers because Vegas isn't going to work.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of the open NHL caliber arenas.
We've been down this road a million times. There aren't any.
Yeah, I mean – Kansas City has one, but they don't want an anchor team.
They discovered that they are perfectly fine just running concerts and I don't know, whatever, roller derby. I don't know.
Houston has the ability to, and I know Edmonton once threatened to go there.
Same thing too. I mean, Houston's a huge market, but you're back looking at 4 teams again. And especially in Texas, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Plus, you're fighting college football down there too. Another thing you got to think about.
It's got to be either Portland or if Seattle builds an arena.
I'd say Portland. If you're going to do it, do Portland. They support the Blazers. They're great. It's big enough. They could do 2 teams in Portland. Portland's your best bet. I say if you got to do that, move the Panthers to Portland and put the Coyotes in Quebec or however you want to do it either way. But that's what's got to be done.
Albuquerque?
Well, you know what?
The Albuquerque Heisenbergs.
I don't know, man. There's really...
There's nothing left. It's just
Boise, Salt Lake City.
Maybe Salt Lake City. I could see.
The problem with Salt Lake City, though, that you're running.
I think their arena has the same issue too with basketball.
And the Jazz have been there for decades.
Yeah.
And hockey and NHL season run concurrently. So now you're going to have to convince a good part of that fan base to spend their money on the NHL instead, and that's an uphill battle.
Yep.
Plus, isn't Salt Lake City a dry city?
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
It's more,
I think Provo is the one you're thinking of.
Oh.
That Provo is dry, but I think Salt Lake City.
They've always had an issue with like selling beer at the Jazz games. Maybe I'm wrong.
Let's move past this conversation and get into the actual, maybe the game itself. So do we want to talk about the Cup Finals or not?
Yeah,
Could this possibly be a show? We almost should do this just because we've never done it before.
I don't know. Like
where we talk about the NBA, but we don't talk about the NHL. That's never happened.
The games have been good, I guess.
Well, I think you're coming at it from a position a little different than ours, maybe.
I don't know. Have they been exciting to you?
Not particularly.
I found Game 3 to be very exciting, actually.
Game 3 was fine. Game 4 was kind of...
I got to be honest.
Game 4 picked up in the third period.
Yeah, towards the end. When Tampa Bay should have scored like twice on an empty net.
And Steven Stamkos missed. Yeah, he had it wide open.
Steven Stamkos misses open nets. Like, ugh.
It's 2-2. So what? Now, where are the Blackhawk fans today? Because I know after Game 3, it was the nooses were out and they were ready to take the step.
Yeah, Blackhawks fans.
They were going to knock the chairs out, and that was going to be that. Yeah.
Shut up, Blackhawks fans.
Even
your team is not dead until it's dead, and not 1 second before that.
Well, when you're down 2-1, I mean, come on. I guarantee you, Golden State fans, there might be a couple, but they're not going, "Oh my God, we're doomed. We're down 2-1." Come on. Didn't they come back from a 2-1 deficit? And what year was it they won the last time?
2013. 2013, they were down 2-1 to Boston, then they end up winning 4-2. So
they were down 2-1 to the Ducks. They were down 3-2 to the Ducks.
Yeah,
they were down 3-1 to Detroit that year that they won the Cup in 2013.
Were they ever? They were never behind in the Nashville series, were they? This year, I don't remember.
No, they weren't behind in Nashville, and then they kind of just took Minnesota out behind the woodshed.
No, that was brutal. So much for my brilliant pick of putting them in the Western Conference.
And even in last year's Western Final, I believe they were down 3-1 before forcing Game 7, weren't they?
Yeah, with the Kings.
Yeah.
The point being that.
I think so.
Yeah, let's if you're down, like if it gets to be, well, now the worst it could be would be what, 3-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, come on, spare me.
Right.
Well, it's interesting in that the Blackhawks. They've been in all 4 games. They've had slow starts, but they really picked it up at the in the second half of last night's game. So the question is, did they finally wake up, and are they going to just start Game 5 with a vengeance? And
probably.
Because I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know if they touched on it in the States, but in Canada, the Tampa Bay Lightning seem to have a lot of, and they use this term, swagger and arrogance. And I have to think, if that's indicative of anything, if the Lightning were really feeling high about themselves, does this loss damage that? Are they psychologically thrown through a loop, or are they just going to come out even stronger? Because this Tampa Bay Lightning team, throughout this playoffs, and the reason why they're where they are, is because they respond to losses incredibly well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you look at the Detroit series where they kept coming back.
Yeah.
They were up big against Montreal and then had to fight for their lives.
Yeah, hold off that furious run by the Habs there, yeah.
And same in the Rangers series where they had to, the Rangers put some big losses up on the board against Tampa, and they had to come back and they had those 2 shutouts on the road in Madison Square Garden. So I think they're fine. I think I'm more curious as to what's Ben Bishop's status, because
there's a lot of speculation out there, including that he shit his pants at some point. So.
Game 2 was hilarious because people thought he had to go to the bathroom a couple times, which brought back memories of Roberto Luongo. But yeah, it was I don't know, and then he fights through Game 3, gets the win, but doesn't start Game 4. Vasilevsky doesn't play terrible, but I think the Saad goal he let up was kind of weak.
The Saad goal he let up was weak, and in case I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but he didn't play terribly, but the Lightning played very tight defense.
Yeah.
For the first half of that game, like they were terrified. Like they were terrified of the prospect of Chicago just peppering him.
They didn't want him to face a lot of shots.
So I mean, he didn't play terrible, but his defense did a lot of the heavy lifting for him in that game. So, and I know Vasilevsky is a good goalie. He's put together some very impressive displays, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Is Bishop out? I mean, it was last night like, hey, we've got to give this guy a breather here because he's just he's banged up and may have intestinal problems. And
they're not going to say.
He has an injury.
Right.
They didn't even confirm that he wasn't going to be starting until about an hour before the game. So
wow.
Yeah.
Now, Strombo on CBC during game 3 was calling out Ben Bishop as a prima donna and a high maintenance goalie.
Well, Strombo would know, right?
Yes, he would. I don't know. It's a case where something must have happened in game 3 because, yeah, he looked like he was in pain in game 3, but he played pretty well. He probably secured his team the win in game 3. And in game 4, he's not good to go. So he must have, whatever was bothering him, he must have pulled it or strained it further.
Yeah. That sounds, but, well, when's game 5? Tomorrow night?
No,
Saturday. Well, that gives him a couple days to, either, heal up a little bit or we'll see what happens. But
I got to think Bishop will start game 5. Even if he's hurt.
Unless he's hurt worse than they're letting on.
Unless he's hurt so bad he physically just can't do it.
Right. But also, though, if you're going to go with your backup goalie, wouldn't you rather do it at home?
Yeah, but I mean, now you're in the position of if you lose game 5 at home,
you're screwed.
Then you go to Chicago
for game 6.
Down 3-2.
And you're probably not coming back from that.
Probably not, no.
Right, you'd have to have an incredible effort to come
Everybody always talks about Game 7, but do you think that the greatest games a lot of times are the Game 6s? I mean,
because Game 7s tend to be a letdown.
Well, in your case especially, I'd imagine, Zach. But
I'd rather never see a Game 7 ever again.
I understand, believe me. I already know.
Any team, anywhere, ever.
So speaking of that Game 7, Zach, I have to ask, you had some news regarding Getzlaf that might excuse his decision to no-show for 2 straight games.
Well, I mean, he supposedly had a sports hernia injury.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to get surgery on it, so I don't know how bad it actually is. He's just going to rehab it. He had the same injury back in 2009. I don't think it's in the same place though. But even if that's a reason for him not playing well, the whole team played like garbage. So
yeah, I never like to see
one guy is not the reason that they lost that game.
And I never
that was a team joke.
And I never like to see the so and so was hurt after the fact type of thing.
Well, did you see
what's
Rangers
his name?
With Ryan McDonough?
No.
He had a broken foot. And he was and he's like their captain and their star defenseman. And they showed I saw some highlights of him. They're like, well, he's injured. And they showed some highlights of him. He wasn't he was backing off of hits. He wouldn't even hold the puck in at the point with his foot. He would just let it go by him and go chase it. He was a detriment to the team. Mm-hmm. And then and Keith Olbermann, because he's a big Rangers fan, he actually broke it down on the show. He posted some stats of the differences between games 1 through 4 and then 5 through 7 of how he played. And supposedly if he broke his foot in game 4 or 5 or whatever, he was immensely worse.
I get that, you're a hockey player and all that and a broken foot. Well, that's just a broken foot. You got to cut it off before they're not going to play. But if you're hurting the team,
right,
you got to say, hey, you know what, I'm hurting the team. I should probably sit down. I understand.
That's always been an interesting question because it is a famous mark of hockey players,
right? That
they fight through the pain, they play through injuries,
yeah.
And when the Bruins went to the finals against the Blackhawks, they said that Patrice Bergeron had a punctured lung in the final 2 games of the series.
Look at Clint Malarchuk, man. He was they sewed him up. He's right back in the fucking net. Come on.
Right, but it's
he wasn't really. Come
that's
on.
Great, and this is some of the things we love about hockey and about hockey players, right? But if you're really going to hurt your team that badly, do you want somebody to play hurt?
That's the thing. I don't know that if McDonough was hurt that bad, there's got to be the next guy up on the bench has got to be able to perform at least to a level better than what he's going to do with one leg.
All I'm saying is, one, he shouldn't have felt bad about taking some time off because, as Don Cherry said, you only need 4 defensemen anyway. So
this is true.
They were probably good on that.
In the new NHL, the Don Cherry NHL, you only need 4 defensemen anyway. So
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Don Cherry, Mike.
Yeah.
Didn't he commit an act of treason yesterday?
Oh no.
Oh, with his American bald eagle tie?
Yeah. What was that?
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
that was in response because I think it was Eichel gave him a Team USA hoodie. For Game 3, he had Eichel on a Coach's Corner segment.
Right.
They had him and McDavid and a few other prospects on. And Eichel gave Don Cherry a Team USA, a USA hockey polo.
Yeah.
So I guess in honor of that, Don Cherry wore an American bald eagle tie.
Well, he better be looking for a house right next to Neil Peart after that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Jack Eichel, he's an American kid, but, he's going to play Buffalo, so he might as well be a good Canadian boy.
Good
Ontario boy. I mean, right across the river, but,
Well, I heard someone, I can't remember who said it, but someone did bring up that, Buffalo is kind of like the child that the divorced countries of Canada and the United States share custody of from time to time.
That's a really good description of that city.
They play the Canadian national anthem before every Sabres game, too.
Well, because 30% of their ticket base is Canadian.
Exactly.
They have a beautiful ballpark, by the way. I don't, nobody cares, but it's really nice.
The Bisons?
Yeah. Really nice place. 2-deck minor league stadium, believe it or not.
Buffalo, Bisons, Buffalo.
Something like that, right? Anyway, so I'm completely lost now. I don't know. I still think the Blackhawks. No, you know what? I don't know who the fuck's going to win this series, and I'm not sure I care at this point.
I don't.
I think.
I want Tampa to win, but.
You could say that Tampa could easily have won this in a sweep by now, but at the same time,
you could say the same thing about the Ducks.
I was just going to say we've been saying about the Blackhawks pretty much the whole playoffs except against Minnesota.
but at the same time, it's one of those cases where it's like, yeah, the Blackhawks have been doing this all playoffs, and they're a team where if you don't take your chance, if you don't capitalize on your chances to kill them when you have them, then they are going to make you pay. Like, okay, that last game, Game 4, we've talked about this before on the show. This is probably the best example of that. For the first period and a half, the Lightning are completely outplaying the Blackhawks. They're getting all the scoring chances. The Blackhawks were limited to just 2 shots the entire first period. Lightning are dominating them, but they don't score. And what happens? Chicago gets 1 scoring chance and puts it in.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, you had your chances, you didn't capitalize, and the other team, the Blackhawks, they made you pay for it. That's just how hockey works, and that's how hockey works, especially when you have a team as talented and as experienced as the Blackhawks are.
I just want to say, too, about Duncan Keith. I was in the middle of doing something. I think I was on the phone.
Christ.
I was in the middle of a phone call. And this is hockey, mind you, where he's going to get the puck again probably, but I'm like, hold on, got to see this. That's where he's at this point to me.
Yeah.
Duncan Keith, the 2 guys that have really impressed me throughout the playoffs and in this series, Duncan Keith, I knew he was good, but watching him as much as I did in the Ducks series, it really blew my mind as how good he actually is.
He keeps going.
And the guy that's come into his own that I really love his game right now is Victor Hedman for the Lightning.
I have to think that if you're going to rank defensemen, it's probably a 1-2 with Keith and Hedman.
In the series, yeah.
I'm sorry, but as long as Tyler Johnson's there and he's small and white and scrappy, come on.
Up here, all the news has been apparently teams have been asking the Leafs about Kessel, and that just makes me sad because they're not asking about Bozak, and if Kessel has to go without Tyler, then it's just going to be hard.
Well, if they're asking about Phil, at least they're leaving Dion alone, right?
Yeah.
Hey, why are you guys asking about me? What about Tyler? Tyler needs some attention, right?
I think it'd be hilarious if he was like, when it came time to trade him, he demanded that the Bozak has to be included in some sort of package. I can't. No, he's my friend. He has.
Yeah, no, I care a lot about Tyler. He's a good friend. You don't leave friends behind, man. What do you think I am? A terrorist?
God damn. Okay.
That would be the greatest.
Phil, I do. Actually,
the greatest moment in the history of sports.
I don't think Phil Kessel is a terrorist. I think he's a public masturbator. Is what I think he is.
Hey, some guys just like to do it in public. What does it matter to you? Why don't you just leave me alone? All right. I don't ask you about where you masturbate. I do it in the privacy of my own public home. Fine.
One of these days, we're going to have to do a thing where we interview Phil Kessel as portrayed by Zach.
No, you don't get to interview me. Fuck you. I don't want to talk to you.
Phil, how do you explain Dion Phaneuf's piss-poor leadership of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Why are you talking about Dion? Dion's fine. Leave me and Dion alone. You know what? Leave Randy alone too. He's fired, but don't talk to him. He doesn't know what you're talking about, and I don't really care. I'm just gonna.
What do you think about Coach Babcock?
Fuck you! I'm playing ping pong. Me and Dion are playing ping pong, so you should just leave us the hell alone. All right?
Okay, one last question, Phil. Can you give me your sister's number?
It's 367 fuck you 09, all right? God.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Greg's wit.
That's right. Wit beyond my years, when there's a lot of years there, so there's that too. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Zach's Tabs.
Zach's Tabs!
Take it away, Maestro.
All right, boys. So, last Saturday in Belmont, New York, we have, for the first time in, 47 years? 38 years? What was it?
78?
75. It was 75, wasn't it?
I thought it was 78.
78.
78? Yeah.
So, 43 years?
That sounds right.
We have, or not 43.
30.
No, 35. No, wait.
37. 37. 37. 37.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you have liberal arts trying to do math.
All right. Rewind. For the first time in 37 years, we had a Triple Crown winner in horse racing.
Yes, we did.
American Pharaoh, spelled incorrectly, won the Kentucky Derby, won the Preakness, and won the Belmont Stakes by 5 or 6 lengths? By 15 lengths, I think?
I thought it was 5.
So does winning this thing mean that he'll only be turned into the finest glue available?
No, this means that
he just gets to have sex for the rest of his life.
he is going to be put out the stud. That horse won't be allowed to run another step the rest of his life. Be like,
He's going to get sold, his semen, his seed, for thousands of maybe even millions of dollars.
oh, I think you're probably talking millions easy.
I saw something where American Pharaoh's father, his seed was being sold for $60K a pop, and that's only going to go up, I would assume, being the dad crown winner.
Yeah.
But the Triple Crown winner himself is going to make, tons of babies.
Right. Did anybody watch any of the races? I didn't watch a single one.
Horse racing has never been something on my radar. I've always kind of found it peculiar because every now and then, you're going through the sports channels and you come across it. And it just seems so unlike every other sporting event that you're used to watching that I would just kind of stare at it for about 2 minutes before I change the channel.
The athletes are animals, and you have riders, and being a jockey takes a lot of skill.
But here's my question with the jockeys, okay? And I know that maybe
How short are they?
that first off, but secondly, where do they find all these midgets to ride these horses? I'm serious. How many freaking 5'1" guys that weigh 80 pounds are there in the world?
Well, you see, they treat jockeys the same way they do the horses. When you get a Triple Crown jockey, he just has sex with all the horse breeders' wives.
Well, all right. That makes sense.
I don't know, man.
I just have to ask, on the whole horse riding thing, they have the variation of that in the Olympics, where it's, what is it called?
Steeplechase.
Steeplechase in the Olympics, yeah. But when the horses win the medals, they give the medals to the riders. The horse did all the work.
The horse gets a wreath, doesn't he?
He gets a big old wreath of flowers, but he probably just eats them and gets sick. And
Okay, but here's the other thing. Does the horse really care if it wins or loses?
That's an interesting question.
Does the horse know? Does the horse know it's a Triple Crown winner?
I saw that one movie, Racing Stripes, where Chris Rock did the voice of a zebra doing the Kentucky Derby, and he seemed to care, so I don't know.
Have you guys ever seen the movie Secretariat?
Is that the one with Tobey Maguire?
No, that's Seabiscuit.
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch horse racing. I don't watch horse racing.
Well, okay. Secretariat was the Triple Crown winner in '73.
Won the Belmont by 30 lengths.
Yeah, I mean, that horse was like Michael Jordan back then. He was on the freaking cover of Sports Illustrated, Time magazine. But
he had
owners,
a Gatorade sponsorship. He had Air Secretariat.
His horseshoes, little swooshes on them.
For a brief moment, I thought you were serious about the Gatorade thing.
But anyway, what I was going to say is that
he had an Oats sponsorship.
Right? Yeah, I think he was actually on the Wheaties box. I swear, I'm not kidding with that. Yeah, I'm almost positive.
Secretariat only eats Wheaties and, of course, pre-approved horse food.
Right. But his owners swore up and down that horse knew when he was racing. And I don't know how much stock you want to put into that. I think an animal.
Maybe they know when they're racing, but do they know if they won the race?
I think they clue in that something good must have happened when a bunch of people are like crowded around them taking pictures and giving him like a wreath of flowers. Something must have happened.
Secretariat showed up at, what's the last one, the Belmont?
Yeah.
He showed up at that race and it was like, that horse wasn't messing around. I mean, they were talking about it on Dan Patrick the other day, and it was like they had to take a shot that they never use in television because it was the only way they could keep him and the field in the same shot. That's how far ahead he was.
The other thing, of course, horse racing is still a thing because people are allowed to bet on it.
Right.
I was just going to add one more thing on the betting thing.
Yeah.
My dad once won a bit of money in Vegas betting on horse racing.
Cool.
I asked him, like, you don't watch horse racing? How do you do that? And he goes, I just picked the horse with the goofiest name.
Yeah, well, just like that's what I like. We go to Del Mar sometimes down here, and you know, some people go down and actually look at the horses and like, oh, that one looks like it's got fire in its eyes or whatever.
Oh God.
But like, I just like, no, that one's got a funny name. It's like Turd Ferguson on Celebrity Jeopardy. Turd Ferguson's a funny name.
See, now I've tried that at the local county fair. God, this is going to sound so freaking hayseed, but they have harness racing every year. And one year, just for a kick, my girlfriend and I went, and we bet on the horses.
So they have like the chariot behind it?
Yeah, it's like the two-wheel chariot thing, yeah. And so I was like, you know, she was just doing like, this is a funny name, I'm going to bet on him. I'm looking, I'm going, that horse looks like he's got something going on. And I tell you what, every time I picked a horse, he finished 8th, 10th, whatever. So there's nothing to it.
So basically don't listen to you when it comes to
don't look at a bunch of horses and go, hey, you know what, that one looks like he's got a competitive edge, because he doesn't.
It's an animal, okay?
Right.
You're not going to be able to tell the mood of an animal.
No.
You're just not.
The IOC has approved 4 new Winter Olympic events.
Oh, yeah.
This ought to be good.
Pyeongchang, 2018.
This ought to be good.
Mass start speed skating, where every competitor in the field starts at the starting line and has to shove for position, essentially.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to... Oh, that'll be fun.
There won't be any crashes there, will there?
No, well, yes. Big air snowboarding, in which competitors hit one giant ramp and do the best trick they can.
That'll be cool.
A team skiing event, in which teams of 2 men and 2 women will compete on parallel slalom tracks.
Against each other, or?
But this is the big news, guys, for us. Mixed doubles curling.
Oh, hell yes.
Yes.
Teams of 1 man and 1 woman, 6 stones instead of the usual 8.
That's going to be the shit.
Yeah. I'm getting excited.
They can't get here fast enough.
2018 Pyeongchang, South Korea.
Curling is, of course, the greatest sport ever.
Well, now, I mean, curling really pushing the boundaries of social equality.
Exactly.
I mean, men and women on the same team?
You're not going to see that shit in the NFL, I can tell you that.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Good for curling. All right.
Yeah, curling.
Love it. Didn't you do some curling one time? Weren't you going to a curling thing or something?
I was going to, and then I didn't.
Oh.
Yeah. They still have it. I can go whenever I remember.
Okay.
Let me see. This is kind of interesting, but you guys don't care. The U.S. or the Women's World Cup started, and in the first game, the U.S. beat Australia 3-1.
Okay.
And so some Australian football or soccer website, which is actually sponsored by the Australian Football Federation, posted an article basically saying that the United States isn't actually that good, and they should have won.
Okay. And based on what?
Based on a bunch of garbage.
Okay.
So I'm just going to delete that. But this is good for us. Let's get into some football, huh?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is going to be a big topic of conversation when we get back to basically the football show in the fall. The UConn UCF rivalry has been ignited.
Ooh, that was already a pretty good one.
UConn versus the University of Central Florida. It's being dubbed the Civil Conflict, and a trophy has been made. Huh?
Really?
The civil
it's like
conflict.
the Civil War. Because
I get it, but
it's
that's
Civil Conflict.
That's just slightly better than the War of 1812.
Hold on, I'm not done. I mean, this this is a big deal to UConn. UCF didn't know that they had a rivalry with UConn. And I'm not kidding. Like, somebody asked them about it, like, we have a rivalry? They made a trophy? So
I kind of want to see UCF win it now. So then they're like someone gives them the trophy after the game. They have no idea. Like,
I'm excited by this because I'm going to be living down there by UCF at that point. So I actually get to go to this game.
The head coach of UConn said, "Why do I have to call their athletic department to say that we have them targeted as our rival? Period. What control do they have? What do I care what they think? If they don't want to be part of the trophy, I don't care about that either." The rivalry appeared to
you kind of need them to be on board if you want this to be a thing, guys.
The rivalry appeared to catch UCF by surprise. A statement saying it did not have any involvement with the creation of the trophy or an annual rivalry game with UConn. George O'Leary told reporters prior to a speaking engagement in Orlando that he knew nothing about the, quote, civil conflict. I don't know anything about that. I was asked about it. I don't know anything about a trophy, a time thing, or anything else.
Especially when UConn just woke up one morning and said, hey, let's be rivals with UCF. I don't know if that's how it works.
And the UConn coach, he has a countdown clock in the locker room.
Oh, God.
The big sign that says beat UCF and the trophy. And
they're going all in on this.
Yeah, UConn's coach thinks that whether Central Florida honors it or not, we will honor it. We don't have control over that, so who cares? They don't get to say whether they're our rival or
okay,
not.
but what if they beat UConn? Then you have to give them the trophy, right? I mean,
right.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Like it's going to be fantastic if UCF wins the game and like they give them the trophy after the game. Like they don't know. UCF's just going to be like leaving the field after the game. Someone's going to come up and hand them this thing. They're going to be like, "The hell is this?"
So in their history, UCF and UConn have only played twice. The first game, UCF actually beat them by like 50 points. But that game's not on the trophy. The only game that's listed on the trophy so far is the one where UConn beat them last year.
So
Huskies only win for Division I opponent, and UCF's lone loss in conference last year.
So they're retroactively applying this trophy, but not even consistently.
No, because he says because I wasn't the coach here for that one, so that one doesn't count.
This means that we can eliminate all those John Cooper losses to Michigan just because, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah. No, or it's like, everyone knew, like, that Maple Leafs Canadiens rivalry never amounted to anything once Punch Inlatch left Toronto, so, that's just, it doesn't count.
They just made up a rivalry, basically, then.
They literally made up a rivalry on their own, didn't talk to UCF about making a rivalry or a trophy, and it's... So UConn thinks that UCF is a big rival of theirs.
So my question is UCF actually going to take and display the trophy if UConn, if they win it?
Says, UCF should take this and say, we're going to beat the ever-living hell out of you guys for the next 7 years and never give you the trophy. So you get fired, and so we can just throw this damn thing in the trash.
Oh, my God.
I want them to win the trophy. I want them to add the game that they win on with duct tape. Just scribble the score and then use it as a doorstop for the athletic department.
There you go. That's perfect.
Head of the athletic department.
That is perfect.
So the UCF civil conflict.
Oh, my God.
It's like, they woke up one day and just decided to create a rivalry out of thin air, but they didn't even pick a logical team to do it against. It's like, oh, hey, it's like this one team we played twice. I guess we're rivals now.
It's like in the Big Ten. Greg, doesn't every single Big Ten matchup have like a trophy associated with it?
Most of them, yeah. I'm trying to think. Okay, you've got Minnesota and...
But those teams all actually have long histories together.
Minnesota-Wisconsin has one. Isn't that Paul Bunyan's axe?
I think so.
Yes.
And then there's the Little Brown Jug is Michigan and Minnesota, I think.
Right.
I don't think Ohio State Michigan actually has a trophy for the, they pass back and forth.
What's Ohio, Michigan going to pass between them? Like the deed to a burnt-out automobile factory? I mean, come on.
No, but that's a good idea.
I know Michigan State and Penn State have like the land grant trophy.
Right, that's it. That's what I was trying to think of, yeah.
The land grant trophy. God.
Yeah, because they're both charter states.
Yeah, that's stupid.
That's another one where it's completely made up.
But at least, I don't know, at least Penn State, they're in the same very general geographic region. Like here, it's a team in Connecticut and a team in Central Florida, and like the team in Connecticut just it almost seems like they picked a random team.
Well, not only that, but Michigan State and the other rivalry trophies, they've all played each other more than twice.
Yeah,
which is kind of important in a rivalry.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like all the Big Ten teams. I mean, yeah, there have been some recent additions, but for the most part, all the Big Ten teams have at least a degree of substantial history between them.
Right. I think Penn State joined in the mid '90s, but and then you've got the new guys like Rutgers and this and that. But
and Nebraska. But other than that, yeah, like they've all been around for a while. Like they've all played each other numerous times, and then here it's just like. It's just like UConn was like, oh, we need a rival. Pick a team out of a hat.
Right.
And had you play them at least once. So we can retroactively apply this trophy.
And don't bother telling them that they're our rival. We'll drop that on them after the game, I guess.
It's kind of like that one deluded guy in high school who thinks he's going out with that girl, but he's really not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's and even if you do that in ASL, it's like, I don't know, it almost seems worse if you call them about it and ask them to start the rivalry, because a rivalry should be organic. Not just like, hey, we were talking about it. We thought you guys would make great rivals. Army-Navy, this is not, okay?
No.
The headline on ESPN says UConn coach says he doesn't need UCF's consent for rivalry.
Yes, you do. You kind of do.
I am psyched, though, that it's going to be in Orlando, because now I can actually maybe go to it, which would be fun. That'll be great.
I need on-site coverage of the City.
Right. I mean, this is going to carry – we're going to cover this on both shows, not just the football show.
No, we're going to be like, okay, we are live with Greg on the site of the civil conflict. Greg, how pumped up are these UCF fans?
Well, Mike, I've asked 3 or 4 of them, and their answer was pretty much the same. What?
Nobody knows what I'm talking about, but I'm sure at any moment now someone is going to have an answer for me.
Anyway.
All right, is that it?
That is it.
Okie doke, then. We will say, wow. There was that time I spoke English about 30 shows ago. With that, follow us on, not Facebook,
Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Go to the website, basicallyasportshow.com, and subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and the YouTubes. And with that, I'm going to stop talking before I hurt someone.
America, look at yourself in the mirror, America, and realize that it's time to stop shoving hot dogs into every foodstuff.
We're a few weeks away from 4th of July, Mike.
Oh, and I forgot. Go Cavs.
Of course. Go Cavs. Go Lightning. What happens after those two sports are done?
I'll tell you what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for this whole Glendale Phoenix situation to end with everything burned to the ground.
So we could have 2 cities burned to the ground within the same week.
Also, before we go USA. Big week for U.S. soccer. They have big comeback victories in the Netherlands to knock off the Netherlands on their home soil. In Germany to knock off the defending World Cup champions at home. And the United States under-20 World Cup team made it to the quarterfinals. They win this weekend. They will make the semifinals for the first time in that tournament's history. Big week for U.S. soccer. We're conquering the world.
I look forward to your first-round exit in next year's World Cup.
And with that...
not next. I look forward to Canada never qualifying.
Well, you know what? Sidney Crosby's going to be scoring gold medal winning hockey goals, so keep your soccer.
And with that, we're going to save that fight for one of those weeks during the summer when we've got nothing else to talk about.
We'll have it during the week of Canada Day and the 4th of July, and we'll decide which holiday is better.
Ours comes first.
Ours is better.
We will see you next time. Good night, everyone.
Hamburgers, motherfucker.